mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? We like it
Oh my god. Oh my god. Casey, you've officially broken your computer speaker. I don't know if that was insane. What is up, my friends? Oh my god. Hope you're out there. Just having a sensational day. It is too early for that, but I hope you're making moves, making all those dreams come true. My name is Shaheen Al-Shatti, and welcome to the weekend preview show here on MMA Fighting. As always, we appreciate y'all for joining us on this fine Friday. All-star crew here for today's program. Let's bring them in. First off, my bald brother, the main man, the voice of the MMA Fighting Podcast Network, the legend himself, Mike.
Hello, Casey. I've never heard that sound in my entire life, and I have a child who made a lot of really loud, crazy noises. So kudos to you, my man.
And of course, the mouth from the south, the legal eagle. He is the quintessential Florida man, and he's looking real Florida right now. He is Jed Meshew.
I think it's adorable that we titled this the Perry Paul / UFC Vegas 90 whatever preview show, as if we're going to spend more than the minimum amount of time required discussing the UFC. This is Perry Paul, baby. Let's go.
And rounding out the crew, we would be nothing without the single most ferocious producer in the business, the Mustache King. You've already heard him. He is the undefeated Casey Layden, man of the boards, and I hope he still has a voice right now.
Hi. What a week! I saw a champ, the Pomeranian at the weigh-in, so everything's good. I'm good.
You're set. That was it. That was all we needed. You did great work on that, by the way.
Thank you. Apparently, there's some fights tomorrow. I don't care. I met the dog. I took a picture of it. I'm good. All right. Continue talking about these fights.
Award-winning work, my friend. Award-winning. So, fellas, let us dive in. As Jed mentioned, a bit of a doubleheader this week, though I'd say one side of the coin's probably making a little more noise than the other. You have Jake Paul, Mike Perry down there in Tampa, and about an hour and a half before that kicks off on Saturday across the country at the fabled Apex, you have UFC Vegas 94, Amanda Lemos versus Virna, Jandiroba. Jed, we'll start with you. I'm assuming you're in Tampa only because you're about to fly out to Las Vegas. We have the fart score system for everything else. Between this doubleheader, I'll leave it to you. How are you rating this weekend? You are muted, sir.
That's probably pretty critical. If I'm rating this weekend as a whole, it's like a little higher, obviously. This is, to me, the most interesting Jake Paul fight. I think Mike Perry is always an interesting person to watch, do anything but certainly watch fight over the last few years. And they've built this fight well. Like, I think that fight will be fun. So if that's getting baked into the totality of the weekend, we're doing pretty well here. If we're just looking at the UFC Vegas, is this 94? Is that the number? Someone tell me if I'm right or wrong there.
It is.
It's not the best thing. It's not the worst. We've certainly had worse. There are number of decent matchups both up and down. The main event, because but it really as a runway, as a leading into UFC 4. So ahead of us. If you want my fart score, let me calculate it while you speak to someone else, and I'll give you the UFC fights above replacement tussles to determine where we're at there.
Oh man, I think we have to apologize for technical difficulties right now. I don't know if it's working like it's for y'all, like it's working for me, but apologies. Hopefully we're just going to power through it. Mike, I'll go to you. We'll start with the circus because I am fairly certain at least 70% of the people watched no idea that there was the this Saturday. Sabers would not mind and sit in there. He's lost his voice for a He's back up a center, and honestly, it just looks like he's having the time of his life. I think he's probably made a ton of new fans, or at least drawn a ton of new eyeballs to him because of how much he has embraced this. So, Mike, let me ask you, what do you make of the?
Oh man, boys, we might have to kill this stream. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting good speeds here, but I don't know why it is going super choppy. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you now. Shaheen in time, and it's been real up and down, and I wasn't sure if that's me or not.
No, it's not. It's all of us. Well, heck, that sucks because I'm actually getting good speeds here. So we're gonna pause this stream or
Is it
start
CrowdStrike?
it over.
Better
Did
now.
CrowdStrike bring us down?
Yeah. So we're gonna
It's
kill
better
this stream,
now.
man. Yeah.
Like, it's way better
Are we
now.
good? Just about. Can Shaheen log back in? Can someone message him?
We should probably.
Or do you think we should
hit Shaheen.
rebuild? We should restart.
Just redo the whole thing.
I mean, Casey, can you just get the MP3 of you screaming and shouting and just send it over?
This
and
is
I'll
the
just,
benefit
like,
of live television, boys.
yeah, you wait for the podcast. We're gonna splice up both of them.
Oh, Sheen's back.
It looks better.
All right, are we still live? We're still rolling. Are we
We're
going?
still live, yeah.
We're live, pal.
All
We
right,
started to improve gradually.
Okay, we're just gonna keep rolling. Apologies, everyone, for the technical difficulties. I'm
Blame-
just gonna start
blame
over.
CrowdStrike.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start over. Mike, I'm going to you. It's been a super weird week, dude. We knew it was gonna be a weird week. Mike Perry is embracing the hell out of this. That man has lost his voice on Tuesday, seemingly, and has just powered through. He's a pro wrestling character out there. I think I gotta imagine he's making a lot of new fans right now, just because a lot of people being introduced to this insane character. But just what have you made of this week? This has been a very fun week, I've thought. What have you thought?
I mean, it's exactly what I thought it was. I think the boxing community and the Jake Paul fans have been introduced to somebody that we've known for a long time, through the good, the bad. We've seen every single side of Mike Perry. We've seen the soft side. We've seen the crazy side. We've seen the punch dudes in the face outside of a bar side. But we've also seen the family man side, the businessman side, the BKFC superstar side. Like, we've seen all these different shades of Mike Perry, but all of them in their own unique way are still really entertaining. And he's a one of one. He's a unicorn in the sport. And I know there's others that are like that, but Mike just continues to garner more attention, and good attention. Because if you told me 4 years ago, or even the first year I was with MMA Fighting at the end of the year, that in 2024, Mike Perry would not only become a legitimate pay-per-view draw, he'd become one of the most likable fighters in combat sports, and that he would be ready to headline an event at an NHL arena against Jake Paul, I would have said you were crazy, and I'd be willing to bet you a floppity jillion dollars that would not happen. And I would be broke right now. I would have lost all my money on that bet. So yeah, Mike is killing it. He's doing a great job. And I don't know what kind of weights Mike's been lifting, but I don't know if you saw this man at the weigh-ins today. He is yoked. He looks gigantic. He weighed at 196.6. I don't think Mike Perry's ever weighed that much for any fight, even the boxing match he took on 2 days' notice. This dude's ready to go. He's in shape. He's embracing the opportunity. And as I said on BTL yesterday, as long as he doesn't get melted in the first round, this is a win-win for Mike. Mike's coming away in a better situation than he was coming in.
Mike, I want to stay with you because I think you mentioned something interesting there, and I want to revisit it later. But just first, is there this fight, to me, as fun as it's been, there's an element of strangeness it feels like hanging over it, just because it is such an obvious bridge fight, right? we know what we're getting to. This is not the fight that we were supposed to get. Obviously, this was supposed to be Mike Tyson. This is supposed to be AT&T Stadium, or I'm sorry, Cowboy Stadium. This is supposed to be some Netflix, monolithic, just really strange mainstream type of event. And usually when you get that kind of a bridge fight, when you think of a bridge fight, you think of the opponent as just like a warm body, a professional can. The Conor McGregor needing to get past Dennis Seaver to earn his UFC title shot, that type of thing. And I just don't know that that's what this is. This is perhaps, in my eyes at least, the most serious boxing match Jake Paul has had in whatever brief career this is. And I don't think that's the controversial take, but 32-year-old Mike Perry, king of violence Mike Perry, is a very different type of opponent than 50-year-old Anderson Silva or a Nate Diaz who probably doesn't really even care what's going on, or even a pillow hands Tommy Fury out there. Like, call this whatever you want. This feels to me like a real fight. And yet November 17th with old man Mike Tyson just looms over this like a fog to me. So I wonder for you, Mike, is there an element of strangeness to this for you? Intrigue, the whole pack is combined. Like, how do you parse sort of this package we're being given?
I mean, there's definitely intrigue to it. Like, I feel like every prediction I have for a Jake Paul fight is exactly the same. And I'm going to pretty much go with the same boat on this one as well. But we're going to learn a lot. We're going to get answers about Jake Paul. Like, we've had questions about him, about how good he could be or whatever. And spoiler alert, I'm picking Jake to win, but he's going to get hit. He's going to bleed, and he's going to be in a friggin' battle. And this is what we've been waiting for Jake Paul. This ain't Andre August he's fighting. This isn't Ryan Borland. This isn't even an unmotivated Nate Diaz. And this is not Tyron Woodley, who hasn't won a fight in a gazillion years. This is an absolute lunatic who is in the prime of his athletic career, who does not get hurt. He is unkillable. And you're certainly not going to do it with 10, 12, 14-ounce gloves. It's just not going to happen. Mike Perry is an absolute madman. I think he's going to be oversized. He's going to be out athletic in a lot of respects. But Mike's going to get in his face and get punched a whole bunch, and he's going to keep coming. And not all fighters can deal with that. When you hit a guy with your best shot and he just laughs at you, he just keeps marching forward, that can demoralize you. Even the best fighters in the world, when you hit somebody with your best shot and you're a knockout artist and you can't hurt this man, it does something to your psyche. And this is a world where Jake really hasn't been before. We saw it a touch in the Nate fight down the stretch, but Nate isn't throwing the thunder that Mike Perry can throw. Nate isn't as ferocious as Mike Perry. So yes, there is intrigue in that whole situation. As far as the Mike Tyson fight goes, this does nothing to the Mike Tyson fight. In fact, we talked about this on BTL. If Mike Perry beats Jake Paul, if he goes out there and beats him, it only makes the Mike Tyson fight more interesting. It makes people believe that Mike actually has a chance to beat him, because this dude who came from the MMA world, who's in the circus of bare knuckle fighting, at least that's what they think behind the scenes, this guy just came in 20 pounds, basically undersized to Jake Paul by the time they step into the boxing ring, and he goes in there and beats him? Like, I actually think it makes the Tyson fight even more appealing to the people who think it's awful. So yeah, I think there's some things on the line here. I think the intrigue factor of the Tyson fight is somewhat on the line, but that fight's still happening. This fight's going to happen on Saturday, and a lot of people are going to watch probably both of them, for being honest.
I like that point about this making the Mike Tyson fight bigger regardless, right? Because I think I agree with you, and I think some people are framing this as if, like, well, he's risking this Mike Tyson fight with this. And I think I would agree with you that if Mike Perry goes in there and beats him, I think more people are interested in the Mike Tyson fight, because suddenly that feels more attainable. That feels like more of a throw it in the air, let's see what happens type of thing. Because you've seen Jake Paul lose to Mike Perry relatively recently, and it doesn't feel like as big of a mismatch as it probably is. Jed, I want to flip this around to you then. Today on the site, we published our roundtable for this fight, and one of the questions was whether Mike Perry is Jake Paul's most dangerous opponent. And to me, that was interesting, because it felt like to me that depends on what you mean by dangerous. If you just mean dangerous as the man who's most capable of sending Jake Paul's head into orbit, I think there's probably a good argument to be made that Anderson Silva, more accomplished knockout artist, right? Even Tyron Woodley, probably more accomplished knockout artist. if dangerous means the guy who's just more capable of beating Jake Paul in a boxing match, that's probably Tommy Fury. We've already seen that. He's already done it. He's a professional boxer. But if dangerous means just in an abstract sense, the straight up wild card, the dude who's just capable of coming out here doing real wild shit and maybe even teaching Jake Paul a lesson about himself that he'd probably not like to learn, then absolutely. Good Lord. To me, Mike Perry is the most dangerous man Jake Paul has ever come across. No one can ruin plans quicker in combat sports than the wild card. So I wonder for you, Jed, if you're Jake, is this a mistake? Is this a step too far, or do you feel like this is the right move?
Both? Can I say both? I think that this fight is a great fight for Jake Paul. Like, I think this is a perfect fight. It is weird that it is a bridge fight to Mike Tyson, because I'm firmly in agreement. We talked about this on BTL yesterday. It doesn't matter, man. Like, Netflix is paying for Paul Tyson. Like, they're not paying for anything else. They're not going to lose interest in that. I think this fight being the fight that happens after Mike Tyson is just chef's kiss perfect. It is weird because I do think Mike Perry is the most dangerous fighter Jake Paul will have faced, because yes, like, Tyron Woodley has a better chance of one hitter quitting you, but Tyron Woodley was old. Tyron Woodley had already had this issue of his career where he would not pull the trigger, and you could kind of extrapolate into that matchup like, hey, there's a real world here where Tyron just simply doesn't do anything and then loses on activity. Absolutely, Jake Paul can win this fight. He's a betting favorite. Like, that's a very reasonable outcome. There is no world in which Mike Perry is not going to make it a fight. Like, he is not going to Nate Diaz sit and wait, or Anderson Silva, I don't really have the gas to fight 8 rounds. Like, he is going to make this a fist fight. And for all of what Jake Paul has done in his boxing career thus far, he hasn't been in a fist fight. He has been in some boxing matches. But this is going to get grimy. Mike Perry, if worst comes to worst, will just sludge him, just bring him down into the muck and get ratchet with it and see what happens. And so I am really interested in this matchup. I think it's a really, really good one. It is a little weird at the timing. I don't think it is a mistake because it won't ultimately affect the Mike Tyson one. But as far as like his very carefully crafted career narrative that Jake Paul has been running, this does feel like a little out of place, even if it's ultimately good. It's just maybe not right in the exact spot that this would fit in the puzzle tapestry of his career.
Are you with me on my gut? Does it feel to you? Is there in any way, like whatever happens on Saturday affects this train that's headed towards November 17th? Mike Tyson.
No chance. No, like
nothing.
The only thing
no
that will affect
possible.
that fight. The only thing that will affect that fight happening is like a serious medical issue for Mike Tyson. Like, Jake Paul is going to fight that dude because he's going to get paid a buttload of money to do it, and like Mike Tyson's going to fight. He's going to get paid a buttload of money. Netflix isn't losing the interest. I talked about this on BTL yesterday. Netflix, to me, seems very, like, obviously they are transparently getting into live sports, and we all know the UFC's kind of contractual thing is coming up. Feels very much like Netflix wants to test the water of combat sports to figure out how much they want to be in. So they can look at the numbers and say the UFC will be good business. How do we promote this? How do we want to do this? We want to get our foot in the door here, but we're still Netflix. We do things either all the way up or all the way down, and they want to be big and splashy. And the biggest, splashiest fight in combat sports that can be made, other than Zuckerberg versus Musk, is Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, bridging 2 generations, like a whole thing. This is Netflix is not going to care one iota about what happens this weekend. This is full gas after this fight, regardless of outcome.
Let me just add one more thing to that, Shaheen, if you don't mind. If Mike Perry wins, not only does it make the Tyson fight more intriguing, but if something happens to Mike Tyson again, they could just slot Mike Perry right in there, and this becomes a Netflix rematch if Mike Perry wins this fight. So they not only do they have the Tyson fight ready to go, if something does happen, you could slot Mike right in there. Like, this isn't a July 20th situation all over again. Mike Perry's going to be headlining freaking AT&T Stadium for Netflix if he wins this fight, if Mike can't go. So I think the elements of this are intriguing because there's no way Netflix is going to play this game twice, lose Mike Tyson, and then just not do a fight. They're going to move forward with this. And if Mike Perry is the one who is victorious tomorrow, that's just a massive opportunity for him. And Mike's going to be in front of an even bigger audience than he is going into tomorrow. So yeah, a lot at stake in that regard. But yeah, the Perry win, you could argue, is a much more interesting scenario overall.
I am really surprised to hear you say that. I mean, I want to live in a world where Mike Perry is big enough to headline a Netflix show in front of 100,000 people in AT&T Stadium. I just don't know if like even a win would get him there. That feels like a very far step from where we currently are.
Yeah, I maybe, but if he gets a highlight reel viral moment and beats Jake Paul, like finishes him and knocks him out, makes him bleed, and it's a whole thing. Like this, Jake Paul is massive. This guy is massive. Publix test, 90% of the people I ask at the pub if they know who Jake Paul is, they will know. And if Jake Paul is the image they wake up to when they go on social media, a bloody mess on his back on the canvas, they're going to want to know who's the man that actually did this to him. And then once they find out who this man is, they're just going to be all in on Mike Perry like everybody else is in 2024. So it's going to be a special moment. Like Mike outpointing him and winning a splitty isn't going to do it. But if he goes out there and Mike Perry's like, he just takes a beating and then just comes in and knocks out Jake Paul in like the 7th round, it's gigantic for him. The sky's the limit for Mike Perry. I think he gets like on a rocket ship if this happens tomorrow.
I
think that is fair to say.
I agree with that.
I think that's fair to say that if this is a Mike Perry win, it's not going to look like the Tommy Fury win. It's not going to be some sort of weird Middle East decision in that regard. Mike, you mentioned at the top the weigh-ins this morning. We had it all. We had dogs, we had towels, we had all sorts of things. It was lots of fun theatrics. I was really convinced coming into this week that Jake Paul is a much, much, much larger human being than Mike Perry, especially this heavyweight bulking up for Mike Tyson version of Jake Paul. I'm a little surprised at how, I mean, Jake is obviously still bigger by like a noticeable amount, but it's less than I thought. What did you take away from just sort of the weigh-ins, the face-offs, just everything we've seen this week in terms of the size? Does the size feel like it's going to play a part in this?
Yeah, in a way, I guess. Like Jake's big. Like cutting to 200 and making it on the second attempt, like he's a big dude. He was also preparing to bulk up and fight Mike Tyson on July 20th. So the strategy changes a little bit. But I think I was more surprised by how big Mike was. Like this wasn't roll out of bed. This is what he did not look like Nate Diaz did in Dallas on his weigh-in. He looked like a dude who's been bodybuilding for 6 months preparing for this fight. It's like he had some sort of premonition that he was going to box Jake Paul in a 200-pound fight. I thought Mike would be like 188, 189, but seeing him at 197, essentially, if you round it up, he looked gigantic. He looked in tremendous. But I don't think much changes overall in the fight, at least in my opinion. Somehow I froze, and here I am. I'm now moving again, which is wonderful. But yeah, I honestly don't think the size difference changed. Be able to clinch. Frozen again.
Are we all frozen? I see Jed moving. I see Mike moving. Shaheen is thinking hard. And he's gone. Hey, boys.
All right, we're back again. I'm assuming we're still live. I apologize once again for the technical difficulties. We are battling through the Florida elements. We're battling through hotels right now. We're just trying to figure it out. Thank you for sticking with us. We're going to keep powering through. Jed, I want to go to you. One thing that I keep marveling at that's this whole week, and Mike mentioned it up at the top, and it's just I keep coming back to it. I just can where we have in a way that compares to Mike Perry since he left the UFC, because we're talking about a guy who, when he left, sure, he was someone who had lost 7 of his last 10 in the UFC. He was out there having his girlfriend corner him alone during these fights. It was somewhat becoming just more of a joke than anything else. He couldn't really seem to find a gym to stick into. And now what? I mean, 3 years later, this dude is a multimillionaire. He is a legitimate draw unto himself. Mike's out here talking about him headlining Netflix, like with no end to this momentum in sight. It really, to me, just feels like a lesson that sometimes fit is everything in life. Like if you're Tim Duncan getting drafted by San Antonio, your career is a lot different than if you're Tim Duncan to the Wizards. Jed, is this surreal to you that this is where we've gotten with Mike Perry?
A little, not like entirely, right? Like experience, I was like pretty high on what he could be as a star, but then he just lost a bunch. You know, when you're losing to kind of the shell of Donald Cerrone, you're like, okay, maybe you're just not it anymore. Maybe you're just one of those guys who never got there. But this is what happens when opportunity meets hard work. You know, like when you get into the right fit. Because truthfully, Mike Perry never all the way fit in MMA. But this, like where he is in, BKFC is obviously perfect for him. Like it is exactly suited to him. And then to an extent beyond that, the kind of influencer boxing space, like this is his purview. Like this is where he should be making his money and living his life. And so I never could have imagined it would get to where it is. And like Mike said, if he goes out here and knocks out Jake Paul violently, rocket ship. Kid's one of the biggest stars in combat sports. I couldn't have seen that high, but I always thought there was something here. He has just managed to really pick that ball up and run with it in a way that I don't think most people expected.
Again, apologies for the technical difficulties. We hear y'all. We're trying our best to work through this. Let's just go ahead and jump to the picks, gentlemen. I've seen a lot of Jake Paul picking this week. I've seen a lot of Mike Perry picks from the MMA side, but Mike Perry's still out here. I think he's like a 3 or 4 point underdog, something like that. So, Mike, where are you leaning on this?
Jake Paul by decision. I don't think he finishes Mike, but it's very similar to the Nate Diaz prediction where I think Jake's going to win rounds early. I think Perry comes on strong. I think this could be a very boring fight to start. I think Mike's going to try to get inside. I think he's going to struggle because of Jake's boxing experience. I think Jake's just going to kind of clinch up a bunch, throw a couple jabs, and then rinse and repeat. And then eventually Jake's arms are just going to get a little bit tired. Mike's going to start landing. And I think Jake's going to bleed. I think he's going to get battered a bit in this fight. But I just think by the time Mike starts to get going, it's going to be a little too late. So I do think we end this fight with Mike Perry having all the momentum in the world. Mike Perry can get on a microphone and be like, let's do 2 more rounds. I bet if we do 2 more rounds, I'm knocking his ass out. So I think that's kind of how this goes. Jake Paul wins on the scorecards. Mike Perry wins in the court of public opinion. Everybody wins. Mike goes back to BKFC and becomes a giant star, continues that growth. And then Jake Paul goes and boxes Mike Tyson and everybody wins. It's a good thing.
All right. So we got 1 for Jake Paul. Jed, you're out there, the Florida vibes. You got the sun shining. You got the pool behind you. Again, you are the quintessential Florida man right now. Where are you leaning with this?
Well, Mike Perry is the quintessential Florida man, and Mike Perry's going to win. I wouldn't bet my house on it, but I am picking Mike Perry to win for a number of factors. I do. Obviously, size is kind of the primary concern, but like Mike said, Perry looks huge. Now, whether he'll carry that well, maybe gas a little earlier, okay, but ultimately this just boils down to a very simple, maybe it's too simplistic. Mike Perry gets in fist fights. Like that, this is what he does. He is a fighter, and he is damn good at it. And Jake Paul is vacationing. This is a voyeur experience into this world, and he is working very hard. I'm not downplaying the steps he has made, but we've never seen him in a fist fight before. We have seen him box some old dudes, and then we saw him have a real weird boxing clinchy match with Tommy Fury, the one dude he fought who was young and competitive. I don't think Jake Paul has the kind of measured footwork and jab and disciplined game to stick on the outside and just keep the relentless parry pressure off him. And so maybe early he can do it for a little bit, but when he starts taking a step back, Mike Perry's just going to be in his face the whole time. When push comes to shove, when the bullets are in there flying, Mike Perry is battle tested. Jake Paul is not. And I would feel like a real dumbass if, we get on here for a post show. I was like, yeah, actually the kind of semi-lunatic professional fist fighter who's like in the middle of his prime managed to beat the YouTuber from the suburbs of Cleveland or whatever. So I'm picking Mike Perry, and I feel okay about it.
I love that
it would be incredible if Mike Perry wins. This might eclipse Sean Strickland beating Israel Adesanya in one of just the best things that could happen. That threw a monkey wrench in all the plans. I'm actually quite excited for a post-fight show following a potential Mike Perry victory, because it would just prove that combat sports is just not real in a lot of respects, and it's just so fun.
I do love this narrative that I think he still persists of like Jake Paul, this YouTuber, as if this man hasn't basically spent the last like 3-4 years of his life exclusively just kind of being a fighter. At a certain point, I think we almost have to retire the YouTuber thing and act like this is part-time for him. This feels pretty full-time, but it's fair. I mean, it's fair. Mike Perry is completely,
it's
like you
full-time
said,
until he gets punched in the mouth, Shaheen. It's full-time until he gets into a fist fight, because at the end of the day, like, you take the old adage of it's hard to wake up every day in silk sheets and fight. That man spent his whole life in there, and he's doing this, and it's fun because he hasn't had to fight a lunatic like Mike Perry. Maybe he'll get in there and he loves fighting lunatics, and this is it. We're gonna find out. But until I see it, that man goes back to the corner around 4 and is like, I've hit that dude with my best shot, and he's literally spitting blood in my face and screaming at me as he charges forward. I don't need this shit. Me and my brother can go make an energy drink and make $1 billion. I'm Gucci. So I'm sticking with it until I see different.
If the night plays out like you think, it'll be a very, very entertaining night. I'm kind of here for it. Ultimately, I think I side, though, with you, Mike. To me, this just feels like Jake Paul by decision. This feels like a fight that will show the difference between, I think, the brute craft that sort of goes into bare knuckle, how different bare knuckle is, and the way defensively you can't really play those defensive games with bare knuckles. The big giant gloves that these dudes are going to be wearing are very different than anything Mike Perry's been fighting over the past couple of years. Just feels to me like Jake Paul's going to kind of stick on the outside, stick on his bike, stick his jab out there, and just kind of box Perry up. And maybe in the later rounds, Perry will say, screw it, and just start really, really mixing it up. But by then it might be too little too late, and we get a Jake Paul decision that wasn't, super impressive, but he will have done what he needs to do to get it done. We'll see, though. I'm here for it, man. This is a very interesting fight week, and I've had a lot of fun this fight week. Let's move on, though. Let's quickly hit UFC Vegas 94. Again, the event that I think 70% of people minimum watching the show right now couldn't name more than 2 fights on, maybe more than 1 fight on. Women's strawweight at the top. This event's totally gotten lost. Amanda Lemos, Virna, Jandiroba. Lemos just fought for the title and lost, so she's probably a ways away, but Jandiroba, she's on her best UFC run so far with 3 straight. Mike, I'll go right to you. Thoughts on this Apex headliner?
I mean, there's something to fight for, right? Virna Jandiroba, if she wins, is probably getting a title shot. So it's nice to have a main event with some stakes, something to gain and something to lose. And Amanda Lemos is sort of in a weird position right now, having gotten wrecked by Zhang Weili less than a year ago. And then you have Virna Jandiroba, who has just been on a nice little run, and she's immortalized on the MMA Hour wall, and, good things are happening for her. So, yeah, it's a good fight. It's going to be an interesting one. This is obviously a huge step up in competition for Jandiroba, but if she wins, she's going to be fighting for the belt. It might not go well for her, but at least she's going to get there and say that she fought for a title. So, yeah, it's nice. I'll take this main event over Marcin Tybura versus Sergey Spivak 2 any day of the week and twice on Sunday, Shaheen.
Jed. in the annals of Apexy main events. This is up there. This is pretty up there.
Nah, this
What do you
one's
think about
okay.
this one?
Because like this one's better. Look, I'm not saying that this is like casually appealing. It's super not. But like Mike said, the win, not the winner. If Virna wins this fight, she's getting a title fight. Like that is not always the case for Apex cards. In the annals of Apexy events, there are a lot of other ones. This is Apexy. This is no doubt about it, an Apexy main, but it is a fight that I have some affinity for, a little soft spot for. So that's cool. The rest of the card, there's some matchups I like, but there's nothing meaningful outside of the main event. This is just full-on replacement tussles all the way down. But the main event, again, it's not pulling headlines, certainly not on a weekend like this, but it is still a good fight, a meaningful fight. It's a fight I enjoy, so I don't want to knock it too hard, even if the rest of the card maybe deserves some hate.
Did I just hear you right? Is this a 1 on the fart scale?
No, I think it'll get up to a 2, probably, just because like Duo Troy Bill Algeo is real fun. So that's probably enough for 2, but I think 2's looking like the line, which
What's
is
the lowest?
tough. 2.5 maybe, like a couple of weekends ago.
Oh, so
Hold
this
on,
is a new record. All right.
This might be a new record. Maybe it wasn't 2.5. Hold on, let me go through. Let me pull up the data here and figure out which one it was.
I think
is
it's
that
a better
Barboza
card. I think it's a
Murphy?
better card than 2. I think I could sell you into more than 2.
Sell me,
100%
Mike.
You can't.
Please sell me.
You can't sell me.
First
They're
of
good
all-
fights. They're fights that are
Yeah.
okay, but they're replacement fights. Every one of them.
Oh no, of course. But so just to be clear, if there's one fighter in each fight that's interesting, that's a half a point, right?
They have
Yes.
to be really interesting. If it's just interesting, no. They
Okay.
gotta be something. You gotta be Peyton
All right, you
Talbot
want-
interesting.
Okay, if you want stakes, the co-main event has them because there is no fighter on planet Earth that the MMA Hour faithful want on the show more than the Iron Turtle. And if he beats Brad Tavares, that dude's getting a slot on Monday's show. There is no doubt about it because the MMA Hour faithful will revolt if that man doesn't get his opportunity to be on the show. Steve Garcia is so ridiculously fun. That fight is going to end in super violent fashion, and it's going to be Steve Garcia getting the win. Kurt Holloway, Kanan Krzyzewski is going to end violently. Cody Durden, Bruno Silva is a fun-ass fight at 125. You mentioned Korean Superboy coming back fighting Bill Algeo. Let me throw another one at you that I think is going to rule. Here's my pick for fight of the night. Hyder Emil versus Jung Young Lee. That fight is going to be incredibly fun. It's going to be violent. It's going to be bloody. Someone's getting finished, and it might be one of those fights where it looks like one guy's going to cruise and then all of a sudden momentum shifts. I actually think this is not a bad card. Like there are no stakes here. And if you have a choice between watching Jake Paul, Mike Perry, and watching this card, I mean, it's pretty easy selection here. But if you're just like, nah, I don't really want to spend $65 to watch Jake Paul versus Mike Perry, I think if you sit back and watch this event, which starts at 5 p.m. Eastern, by the way, I think that's a great sign with an 8 p.m. main card. You can watch it. I think you're going to have a darn good time, get your favorite meal. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern, you can turn on the watch party with me and New York Rick. We'll tell you everything that happens with the Jake Paul fight. It's going to be a good day and a good night of fights. Like, it's going to be a good watch. I think that we've had worse Apex cards than this one. And I think there's going to be some names on here that I mentioned that you may not know a whole lot about, but come Saturday when it's all said and done, I think you might want to look into him a little bit more. Hyder Emil is one of those guys that I'm very, very high on. I know he's a little late getting into the UFC, but dude is a savage, and he's an underdog in this fight. So that goes to tell you how the betting community and how the MMA enthusiasts look at Jung Young Lee right now heading into this fight. So I actually think it's better than 2.
No, actually, as you talked, it just convinced me 2 is correct. Like, it's not 2019. A Brad Tavares fight it ain't doing it, baby. Like it's just a full-on replacement card. There's nothing wrong with replacement fighters. We've all seen the movie The Replacements. It was terrific. It's okay to be a replacement, but like these are all replacement tussles all the way down the line, except for the main event. And Korean
How much fun
Superboy
is the curtain jerker though, Jed? How much, like in your world, Muhammad
is the
Usman as
actual
Thomas Peterson
worst fight
is
I've ever seen on paper. I mean, I'm gonna love every second of it if I'm watching, but it's a nightmare fuel. They at least expertly put it at the start of the card, so you at home, the discerning viewer, can be like, "I'll start this 30 minutes after the allotted start time. I don't need to catch that opener. We'll be all right."
I just have to say, Mike, that was spectacular. I did not
You
expect
did your
someone
best.
to come on here and do what you just did. That was tremendous.
unlike
I don't
seriously
want.
on Tuesday, I was with both of you, and then I actually like looked at the card and I was like, you know what? This actually isn't as bad as I thought it
Again,
was.
I agree that there are some fun fights. They're just all fun replacement fights.
That's the thing. Like, we're not saying this isn't going to be fun. This could certainly be very fun. I think there's a difference between fun and great matchmaking or great cards, right? Because like I could go to a Rage in the Cage card down the street and have a lot of fun and have a really great night, but I don't know if that means it was a good fight card.
Listen, this card is not great. Great is not a word
Okay.
I would use to describe this card, for sure.
Last thing on this, and then we'll get to the pick. Just because I think I'm surprised that both of you seem to agree in this respect that if Virna Jandiroba wins, she gets a title shot. And to me, I feel like we're all forgetting that Tatiana Suarez is still just sitting out there. You both think that a title shot is happening. No, I will never give it up. I will never give it up.
At this point.
I will never give it up. The Tatiana Suarez era is coming. You both think a title shot's on the line for Jandiroba here?
Yes, because we live in reality, and I know. Look, I like to dabble in the world of fantasy with you, you, me, and the last hope for certain fighters who won't be named at this point in time, but maybe we're an 18-time world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I like to live there, but in the land of reality, I'm not there. I can't go to Fantasy Island for the Conor McGregor's going to fight again, or the Tatiana Suarez is finally going to get like healthy and compete all the time. Can't do it. So obviously she doesn't count. Because yes, in a perfect world, she'd stop taking 3 years off at a time or whatever because her body would allow her to compete. It just doesn't seem like we live in that world. And so Virna on like a 5-fight win streak or whatever it'll be, if she beats Amanda Lemos, a recent title challenger, she will 100% deserve a title fight. And she can actually make it to the cage. Availability, the best ability. So yes, I stand by this position.
I'm deeply offended right now. I do not appreciate what you just did, and I would prefer if you never did it again. Mike, who you picking? How you seeing this go?
It's tough, man. This is a tough one to pick because Lemos, it's just such a Lemos is so crafty. She is a powerful fighter, and I remember just how glowingly Casey talked about her in like 2020, 2021 when she dropped a strawweight and just started melting people. And then the Angela Hill fight happened and we're like, maybe there's some holes there. And then she would pick up another win and then we'd be off to the races. And then she fought Zhang, got to the title and all that. So I'm leaning Lemos here. I'll go with Lemos, but honestly, like it would not surprise me at all. Virna Jandiroba just kind of outlasted Lemos going into the championship rounds. I think all Jandiroba needs to do is win one of the first 3 rounds, and I think she has a very good chance of winning this fight. I think she can win 4 and 5, and who knows? The small cage actually makes a little bit of a difference in this fight. That's why I'm not immediately going with Lemos. I think the small cage actually helps Virna in this situation. So, but the pick is Lemos. I think she ekes out a decision in a competitive fight, and I think it's going to be a pretty fun one.
What about you, Jed?
I'm going Lemos. Here's the list of people who have defeated Amanda Lemos down at the old strawweight. It's Wiley Zhang and it's Jessica Andrade. I don't know if you're just off the top of your heading that, but that's the 2 most physical fighters by a grand margin in that weight class, if you're not counting Tatiana Suarez, who, as previously mentioned, we're not because, the whole active competition thing.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
When she loses, it's because she just kind of gets hossed around. I like Virna Jandiroba. She is not a Manalfioro hoss in there. If she can get takedowns, like Mike said, this gets real interesting because Lemos can be controlled. But I also think Lemos can be controlled because, Wiley Zhang's a hoss of a person. I'm not sure Virna can kind of effectuate the same thing. So when in doubt, just back the physical freak, and she's not fighting someone who can outdo her in her best athlete areas. So I'm going Amanda Lemos. But it'll be really impressive if Virna gets it. And if she does, Tatiana Suarez aside, like, she 100% deserves a title shot at that point. And arguably deserves it more than Tatiana because she has just been so active. So I hope she gets it.
Yeah, I'll make it unanimous on this one. It feels to me like this is fairly straightforward. You guys have said it all. I just think the physicality of Amanda Lemos is going to be a little too much there. And ultimately, like, yeah, you lose to Weili Zhang. Like, yeah, everybody loses to Zhang. That's not going to make me diminish you and think lesser of you. I think she's still elite in this division, and she still has a skill set that's really difficult for a lot of women to handle here at 115. Quickly, before we get to the questions, we do have 2 cards, gentlemen. We've talked about both of the main events. We haven't really talked about anything else. If you had one fight on either of these cards that you had to watch, you just have to watch one other fight on either one. Mike, what's the fight that you have to tune in for? Either one, boxing, MMA.
Outside of the main events?
Yeah.
I think it's the Hyder Emil fight, man. Like, I'm really interested. Dude, that fight, it slaps, man. I'm telling you, it should be higher up on the card. It's going to get fight of the night. We're going to be talking about it on the post-fight show, no matter what happens. What do you want me to say? Do you want me to say Amanda Serrano versus Stevie Morgan? Like, we all know what this is. We know what H2O Sylvan Lucas Body is. No disrespect, AK, and to all the Canadian boxing fans out there, but we know what this is. Uriah Hall, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., like, that might be my other answer because I don't know what the hell's going to happen here. By the way, Uriah Hall looks like he's been hitting the weights a little bit too. Dude looks freaking gigantic. And then Tony Aguilar and Corey Marksman is going to be fun, but, like, I'll probably never watch either of those guys box again for the next 5 years. So give me the Hyder Emil fight. I think that's going to be fun as hell. I don't know what to tell you.
I would never, ever ask you to lie to the people, Mike. Never. We don't do that around here. Jed, what about you? One fight on either card.
So if I'm answering in the spirit of this question, it's pretty clearly Doo Ho Choi versus Bill Algeo. Korean Superboy rocks. Bill Algeo is super fun. That fight's going to be a banger. But if I'm asking truthfully from my heart and with full bias blinders on, it is, in fact, Amanda Serrano versus Stevie Morgan. Not because it's going to be like a great matchup, because I will physically be there. And I got to tell you, I'm one, you're all lucky, because I'm going to this event, and every time I go to a live event, it's a banger. Like, there's always something cool or weird happens. So buckle up, because Perry's going to do some cool shit. But 2, this will be by far the most high-level boxing event or match fighter I have ever witnessed ringside. And so pretty pumped about that part of it. So that's full bias. Nobody else should agree with that. But for me, that is the thing I am looking forward to the most of this whole weekend. So I'll shout it out just for that reason.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll go with the pick that you
I'm going to watch one of the 3 best female boxers compete from 12 feet away from me. That's pretty dope, you know?
It's fair. That's totally fair. I'll default back to the pick that you didn't pick then, because Doo Ho Choi, Bill Algeo are just going to light this cage on fire, and it's going to be ridiculous. And for however long this lasts, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's it, though. We don't need to do anything else. Casey, get in here, man. I miss you. I need to see your face. What's up, buddy?
Hi.
The pipe, those golden pipes, they recover from the beginning of this?
They're a little scratchy. I gotta admit, I gotta get some like lozenges or later, but I'm ready. I'll do a tour, open up for Slayer. I'm good.
That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, man, you're missing your calling as a lead singer of a hardcore band. You got it. You got it if you want it.
All right. Question.
What are the peeps saying?
We go.
What are the peeps saying? Also, real quick, just want to ask you, because you've been there all week, Case. You've sort of been at the circus this whole time. What are the vibes like? What are the on-the-ground vibes? You've been to a lot of different events. You've been to good events, bad events, real events, kind of fake events. Like, what does this feel like to you?
Good. Honestly, feels good. There's a lot of excitement. I'm in the fighter hotel. All the crew is here. Most of the fighters except Jake is here. It's just good energy. Like it's so different. The last 2 weeks ago, I was doing a lot of stuff with Famio. What's the Famio? Yeah, whatever they're called, Famio, and now MVP this weekend. It's just it's very different. It's just yeah, it's a positive
So you
energy. It's a positive
pays
energy,
its bill.
basically.
Is that how you mean it's different? They pay their bills.
Yes, yeah, maybe that's it too. Yeah, just positive energy. The
Allegedly.
fans, outside of the wonderful Tampa weather, everything's been great. Actually, so I'm very very excited for the fight night. But that's all Jake Paul fights, honestly. I think I was at Anderson and the first Tyron Woodley fight. Um, and I mean, I didn't go to the smaller ones when he fought the boxing guys or Tommy Fury, but it kind of had the same feel. I don't know, and I think on fight night it's gonna feel like a UFC championship fight or bigger. It's just a lot of hype, and I'm super excited for it and everything. I'll have a better gauge because I haven't really seen too many fans, but we're gonna have the ceremonial weigh-ins in a couple hours, so I'll have a better gauge on it, I think. But no, I love it. I mean, it feels. I know this is influencer boxing, man, but this feels big. Feels big.
I mean, does it
And
feel
it
to
totally
you?
passes that. It totally passes that mom test because when I go around here, just all the cabbies or Uber drivers or just in the local coffee shops or whatever, I'm kind of shocked because I'm so in this bubble. I don't understand how big the Paul brothers are, and like everyone had an opinion on the Paul brothers, everyone, and then I have to explain who Mike Perry is. They're like, "Oh, that sounds crazy," but I'm just because either I'm talking to you guys about fights or I'm talking to other training partners about fights. So like I'm just never around non-fight people, and all these just regular civilians. They all know who the Paul brothers are. They all know it's in town, and everyone's excited about it.
Does it feel to you that like people are almost I don't know the right word to use, but like almost like surprised by this Mike Perry thing this week, that like people who have not been indoctrinated in this world of the King of Violence are like experiencing this guy for the first time, that people are almost like, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah, yeah, but it's in a good way. It's an exciting way. They just feel like this is just a new character, like a new boss on a video game. Like Jake Paul's going level to level. Now this new crazy boss. You're like, whoa, this guy's crazy. Or like when you're playing Mike Tyson. Punch out, you go to the next guy, and next guy this is Mike Perry. And yeah, that's what it feels like. And everyone's excited, and they just I don't know. It doesn't. But it doesn't feel like UFC. It doesn't feel like even big boxing. It's really its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously right there, but it's still got
It's
its
the
own
circus.
corner of the room. Yeah.
It's the circus. But the circus, when it's executed well and executed at a high level, can be very entertaining and feel very big. I totally get what you're saying.
Circuses are always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the punch out reference too. Love the punch out reference. Mike Perry is super macho man, getting you right ready for Mike Tyson at the very end. It's tremendous. By the way, tickets, this thing's gonna sell out. There's like 200 tickets left. Looking at Ticketmaster right now, so this thing's gonna sell out. And they did it in a month to build this fight. Pretty damn impressive.
And, I mean, I know they have. I think they're doing kind of like what Famio did for Diaz Masvidal, kind of generally lower ticket prices. I think only $25 just gets you in the building, which is, but to me, it's a pretty good deal if you're a fight fan. Just get in the building. Yeah, you can't see anything, but you just stare at the big screen to get the atmosphere, and that's what it's about. And it's gonna feel big. I'm really excited to, I'm really excited to be in the arena Saturday night.
$25
also
like
speaking
exactly
Mike Perry.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying 25 is like perfect. Like, what else do you have to do on a Saturday night that $25 is like? That's just a perfect entry price. That's how you get an arena full. Like, that's how you promote things. That these are professionals doing what they do best.
Yeah, doing what they do best. Sticky Mike Perry in Florida, like that's a promotional genius right there. I mean, come on, man, that man's speaking to his people right this whole week. But Casey, what are the peeps? What are the peeps saying? Other than our terrible streaming issues, which again, apologies for those. We hopefully have worked through it. It seems like it's better now. This super chat's coming from Chase. Thank you, Chase. Is Tatiana the Hamzat of women's MMA in terms of being pegged as future champs who can't stay healthy for jack shit? She is the original Hamzat. She has been doing this 3 times longer than Hamzat's been doing. Whatever this song and dance is.
Yeah.
Interim Chase is right.
Coming up on one full year since she's last competed.
I still believe. I will forever believe.
Who are those other who are the other fighters like that? They're kind of like, man, if they were just healthy, they would have that belts just like that. Like, is there another one? Or is it just Hamzat, Tatiana? Are we missing someone?
I mean, the funny thing is, for a long time, it was Habib. The answer was Habib forever.
Habib was just 100% that dude for a hot minute.
Who's that?
TJ Grant. TJ Grant's the OG.
TJ Grant's a great one.
TJ Grant just had the one that he never fought again from, though. You know,
but right there, right on that precipice.
Yeah. But I think TJ Grant, we saw him as like Zabit. Yeah, Zabit's a little bit. Yeah.
Zabit.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of other guys who were injury prone in a way that was tough, like Dominic Cruz, but he climbed the mountain and then had all this happen. So it's a little different. Ian McCall was the unluckiest fighter in MMA for like 8 straight years. Trying to think of some other ones that kind of like had similar stuff going to them.
Okay, but yeah. Super chat from Frankie Donuts.
Frankie Donuts. What fight makes more sense would you rather see in the future? Max Volk 4 if Max wins, or Izzy Rob 3 if Izzy wins?
That's an
easy question, I think.
Too
what do you
easy.
guys think?
It's Izzy Rob 3 by a country mile.
Ooh, I'm going the exact opposite way. So
same. I was leaning the other way.
So go on.
Oh, there we go.
Lost you for a moment.
Are we good now?
Back? I think so.
Are we okay? Yeah, I think we're okay.
Yep.
Okay, we're feeling good. Because I left the second Izzy Rob fight feeling like Rob could beat Izzy. I left Max Volk 3 thinking Max could never beat Volkanovski. It's never going to happen. He got perfect gamed on a very good night. And there's just nothing Max Holloway could do to beat. It's just not his guy. Everyone has sort of the anti-fighter that just has their number, and Volkanovski has Max's. And it's just gonna I know he's coming off of a loss or whatever, and back-to-back knockouts, and maybe that changes things. But the way Volk just continuously got better fighting Max, and then that perfect game he pitched, it was, to me, I highly implore everybody to go back and watch UFC 276, not for the main event, because that main event was poo-poo, but the co-main event, the performance that Volkanovski put on against Max Holloway, especially when all the vibes in Las Vegas, because I was there, it was all on Max Holloway. Everyone thought this is Max's moment. He's going to regain the featherweight title. This is it. And Volk put on one of the all-time great defenses. I mean, it was unbelievable. Max had 0 for him. And at least with Rob Izzy, I feel like there are still people to this day who feel that Robert Whittaker beat Israel Adesanya in that rematch. I'm not one of those people, but I left that fight thinking, you know what? I'd like to see Rob do it again and see if he can actually beat him. But I've seen Max Volk 3 times. I don't need to see it again, especially after that last one.
My counters to this are, because I did agree, certainly after Max Volk 3, it's like, I don't ever need to see it again. I still don't need to see it again. My counters are, 1, there were a lot of people, some on this very call right now, who were adamant that Max Holloway beat Alexander Volkanovski the second time. And then the third fight went as you said it did. I am supremely confident that a third fight between Rob and Izzy is just a deeply uncompetitive Izzy win. So I truly just have next to no interest in watching that fight. So that fight is pretty low on the rank of things I want. Max Volk 4 a year ago, I would have been absolutely just don't have any interest. Now it is different because Volk's older. Volk's been knocked out twice. Max has found more power. By going up to lightweight, adding a little bulk, I'm really interested to see if he does get this Topuria fight that seems like he is. Can he drop weight? How does that go? Does he look the same? Is he now more drawn out cutting? If so, if he carries the power that slept Justin friggin' Gaethje with him down to 145 and then beats Ilia Topuria, one of the top pound for pound fighters in the world by my estimation, and he's still young and still good, I think he can win it. I wouldn't like it because I wouldn't like, okay, just give Max 8 tries to beat everybody and eventually he'll get one win. That sets a weird precedent, but that fight just in a vacuum is far more compelling to me than a fight I am fairly certain I have the outcome on for Izzy Rob 3. Now, if Izzy gets killed by Dricus, maybe that match changes a little bit. I don't know. We'll have sort of that will depend because everything moves in pieces. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think you said everything that I was thinking, right? Because to me, this game's about windows and momentums, right? And right now, the momentums for Max and Volk are in such a vastly different place than they were the last time they fought. To me, it just feels like if Max is ever going to get one, it would be right now. It would be where Volk is on this potential downslide back end of his career, and Max still feels like he's at his peak somehow. I have no idea how at this point this man is still getting better every time we see him, but it does feel like Max is in his absolute prime, and this would be his moment. Because you alluded to it, but I am the man on this panel that you were talking about who thought Max beat Volk in that second fight, and I still maintain that. So I don't know. To me, that is a far more interesting fight because I feel like I know what Izzy versus Rob looks like you said. Like I don't know that either of those dudes' games has changed enough to where like this is gonna just not be the same thing that we've already seen. To me, go ahead.
I feel exactly the same way about Izzy Rob as I do when I felt after Max Volk too. Like there's an argument that Max won. And if you want to say he won, I don't, that's okay. I don't think that that's unreasonable. I left that fight thinking, okay, Max can do well. This is the absolute peak of what Max can accomplish against Volk. So it felt the exact same way with Rob. I was like, Rob can do better than he did the first time. This is it. He has to pitch a real perfect game plan and he still doesn't even win. If they run this back 100 times, Izzy's just going to win 97 of them. Like it's just a really tough matchup for him. That could change, like I said, but that's where I'm at.
Also, just a little like late career Max redemption arc. Like I don't know, I'm into it.
And yeah, I definitely like Max Volk 4 better because this is off after the assumption that we watch Max defeat Ilia, right? And that's going to be incredible if that actually happens. So like,
if Max loses to Ilia, then I have no interest in that fight whatsoever.
No, yeah, you're right. No interest. Yeah, it's just 8 fight unless it's maybe at 55 for some reason. But I want to see Max Volk 4 if Max wins. But will Volk get a straight title shot, or does he have to get a win? You think
he's going to?
I think in a hypothetical world where Max beats Ilia, I think Max at that point is one of the biggest stars in all of combat sports. I think the momentum from UFC 300 combined with that beating sort of this ascendant Conor McGregor light type of guy that Ilia is being framed as, I think Max emerges from that fight, especially if it's a very spectacular win, as just like the guy with some of the biggest promotional juice in the entire sport. And at that point, the storyline, the way that would be framed of like, hey, Max is at his moment, at his peak, he's finally going to try to beat his boogeyman. I think the way that could be sold and framed, like that's a massive, massive fight. And I think Volk would absolutely get that one.
I agree, except if Max beats Ilia, everything you said is right, except for the end destination is let's have this dude fight Islam and let's see.
Yep, exactly.
I as you were talking, I was like, you're 100% correct. But the answer, you did all the problem right, but you got to the wrong answer because the answer is all of that and then Islam. And Volk is just in a weird spot because MMA is it's a fickle sport, man. Tough scenes.
I think you're probably accurate that would be a potential path, although I think you're discounting how much the UFC maybe feels like it owes Volk one right now because he has saved them a couple times. And it does feel like they don't do favors for a lot of guys, but it does feel like he is one of those guys that they would maybe be like, hey, do this Volk thing, Max, and then you can get the lightweight shot. I have in the back of my head, I feel like that's probably where they would lean because we've already done the Islam. The thing is, like, we've already done the Volk. Or I'm sorry, the Islam versus featherweight champion thing. Like, we've done it so many times at this point. At a certain point, we got to stop making this guy fight featherweight champions and fight real lightweights.
Listen.
That's ridiculous.
Don't worry
John
about
Jones's career was built on beating middleweights. They don't care at all. This is the path to do it. You just fight people in lower weight class. It's great.
Also, Jed, you were incorrect. Because by the time like all the dust settles, Arman Sarukian's gonna be the lightweight champion anyways. So you could do Max versus Arman, and then that eliminates Islam from the equation. So you're all good.
I mean, I don't know that anyone cares about that fight, but maybe. Max is at that point, like Shaheen said, Max has the promotional heft that he doesn't need a dance partner that no one cares. It doesn't matter if the dance partner no one cares about. So maybe.
There we go. We hit all the boxes on that. Jed got to crap on John Jones. Mike got to have an Arman Sarukian plug. We're playing the hits. We're playing the hits, y'all. We're playing the hits.
You teed me up so perfectly. I was so excited.
Yeah, and I'll go and just say it'll end up being Max versus Conor McGregor. So just so Chandler loses the fight.
Yeah.
So we get everything.
That is also a super possible outcome of that.
All right, thank you.
But we appreciate you, Frankie Donuts.
So that would be awful, but it would also be funny as hell to watch Max kill that man.
Chase coming in with the second one saying Volkus cooked Max flatlines him in a fourth fight.
Dude,
I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I think that a lot of people would be saying that leading to it, which would create quite a narrative.
That could be true. He's saying that with a lot of confidence based on limited data points, but that could be true, which is why that fight interests me more.
Yeah, exactly. Getting knocked out by Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria to me does not tell me that you are cooked, but you could be. This one's coming from Daz Rikio. Lemos versus Virna, Korean Superboy versus Algio, Tavares versus Turtle emoji equals 3 farts at least. He's calling you out, Jed.
Guys, quit trying to make Brad Tavares happen. It's not going to happen.
No, they're not trying to make Brad Tavares happen. They're trying to make the Iron Turtle happen.
Yeah, it's not. It just doesn't work. This is a replacement level fight for days. At most, you get a half point for Iron Turtle, and even that I'm pretty skeptical about. I think truly it's 2 fights because you get one for the main event. Superboy gets a half. Iron Turtle gets a half. And Bill Algio, as much as I respect him, probably really is still in that replacement tier. Brad Tavares was previously above replacement. Now he is firmly a replacement level fighter because that's age comes for us all. This is a 2-fart card, guys. Get on board with it.
This one's coming from Spencer. We appreciate you, Spencer. Vibes of the crew way too high for the stream to handle. That's absolutely the problem. That's 100% you diagnosed it. How many pay-per-views does Tyson Paul do if not on Netflix? I think a lot, but not as big culturally. That's an interesting question. Does anyone know off the top of their head what the Tyson Roy Jones pay-per-view did?
It did really well.
Because I remember it doing extraordinarily well. Yeah. And Jake Paul was obviously on that. To me,
1.6 billion that did. What? It's one of the biggest.
Yeah, man.
That did huge, gigantic numbers. Yeah, 1.6 billion pay-per-view buys. Generated over $80 million in revenue, that fight. And that was an exhibition fight.
100%. I think that's the element that sort of gets lost in this when people say like, oh yeah, Mike Perry can ruin this Mike Tyson thing. It's just like, nah, guys, like the grandfather in the supermarket who's in the dairy aisle will not know or care that Mike Perry knocked out Jake Paul if that happens. Like they're in it to see Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's one of the most famous people in the entire damn world, regardless of like athletics or not. Like people want to see Mike Tyson fight. And I think a lot of people want to see Jake Paul get knocked out. So this is going to be a thing regardless. I think if this was a pay-per-view and it was not on Netflix, it clears $1 million easy.
Easy clears $1 million. I'd say clears 1.5.
At like a $50 price point, a 50, 60 around,
yeah,
or even the UFC 80. It doesn't even matter.
It's people are going to pay $50 to watch Mike Tyson fight me or nobody. But people desperately want to just remember Mike Tyson from their youth and against a guy who will generate interest, draw headlines. I think 1.5 is a very, very achievable number.
Couldn't even be higher, man.
I'm
Jake
ultimately
also
curious
helped.
to see.
Jake also really helped that undercard out too, because he was boxing Nate Robinson, and just seeing those two names next to each other. I remember like doing a preview show. I was like, dude, Jake Paul is fighting Nate Robinson, a guy who came off the bench for the Celtics and like jumped in Shaq's arms, and it was like the best thing I've ever seen. And then he just got deaded by Jake Paul in like a gnarly, violent way. So now you're putting those two dudes together. Plus, you're getting Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor, a rematch of one of the craziest fights ever. And then you're going to load it up with some other stuff. Like, it wouldn't shock me if Darren Till ended up on that card or something to that effect. So, yeah, I think it would do really, really well. But they're going to Netflix. It's going to be the most watched fight of all time by a lot.
Yeah, that's ultimately where my biggest intrigue is for that. It's just like, what kind of numbers are we going to see on Netflix for that fight? Because they're going to release it. Like, we never really hear Netflix subscription numbers, but if they hit an absurd number for this, we're going to get that press release of like, hey, 500 million people watched this fight or something like
that. Give me your Netflix voice.
That's so good.
Hey, I'm Netflix. 500 million people. I'm very successful.
He's apparently a 1930s gangster, Mr.
Yeah. Shaheen, buy the pay-per-view.
Where? Buy the pay-per-view, see? Where?
It's only $9.99. Hey.
All right.
Yeah, that fight's happening regardless of what Mike Perry does.
All right, thank you much.
We appreciate you,
got another $9.99 super chat from our wonderful friend Chase.
Chase just buying us all lunch here. Chase coming in he's coming in just to rebuke Jed. Of John Jones' 15 title wins, 11 have come over people who held titles at 205 or higher. In other words, Jed, shut the hell up with the middleweight.
You want to go down this road, Chase?
Oh my God, I'm so excited for this.
Chase, you want to go down this road?
He's paid $10 to go down this road.
Okay. Oh, of those 15, 7 of them came against fighters who did compete as middleweights. That's tough. And then 2 against Daniel Cormier, who we love Daniel Cormier, one of the very greatest light heavyweights of all time. The best wins of John Jones's career, bar none. Realistically, I think we can all be adults and say Daniel Cormier probably should have been a middleweight in his career. Never was going to be one. But you can look at the man who's 5'10" and carries some extra and be like, optimized athlete, you might be 185er. Literally half of them came against dudes who fought at middleweight. Like, great fighters. I love Vitor Belfort. We did a damn on Chael Sonnen. Lyoto Machida, all-time great. They also were comically undersized compared to John Jones. That's just the truth, baby. Got to deal with it.
All right. I'll also throw out Chase that Jed is currently wearing swim trunks. So if you need to call him to action, by all means, it's right there for you.
Prepared. Come ready.
This one's coming from Brandon. Where does Virna's hat rank among cool MMA hats? Oh man, I mean, Jed, this is right up your alley.
I mean, look, the issue is she's not from a country that ends in stan. And that's really the sweet spot. If you're fighting someone from a stan country and they've got a cool hat, don't sign the bout agreement. But this is an exceptional hat. And I'm a big fan of the hat gimmick. Like, if you don't have like a outward facing personality, there's nothing to really rope people in. Just get a cool hat. And that's all you need. Like, maybe get one catchphrase and, say smash a lot or whatever. And suddenly people are like in on you. So I love what she's doing. It's great promotional work.
All right.
I mean, it's no. What is the best hat? I think the Papaka is probably just as like the OG hat, right? Like that's the hat that started it all.
Yeah, the Habib hat is definitely the best hat because you go to at a certain point during Habib's height. You like example right 229 UFC 229 Conor McGregor fight. You go to 229, half the crowd's wearing the Papagas. That became such a big giant thing.
That's sort of just enshrined. The Shavkat hat is exceptional. It's just so good. I think that's number 1. But I love a fun hat.
Can we suggest any suggestions for some upcoming fighters, some prospects who maybe aren't getting the buzz they need that we could suggest some sort of.
I mean, I'll tell you who could be helped by a hat. You want to know? You want the real answer to this? Movsar Evloev needs a hat. Movsar Evloev badly needs a hat. Because we would talk about Movsar Evloev a lot differently if he had an awesome hat that instruct fear into
That's
the
right
opponent,
answer.
You know? Yeah,
That's the right answer.
That dude would
I was
have
going to
really
say,
fun.
like, no, that's the right answer. You did it.
Is there any fighter that their personality is just so bad that a hat couldn't even help them?
I mean,
I feel like Henry Cejudo's right at the top of that list. Henry Cejudo, like, there's no hat on earth that gets him over.
One, I never even thought about this.
Yeah, but that just,
terrible.
I mean, see, it doesn't work for all
yeah,
fighters.
Yeah.
You know my feelings on several fighters. This did just make me think, like, I'd probably dislike him less if Stipe just came in rocking a firefighter helmet. Like, I'm not sure why he doesn't do that. That seems like, why wouldn't you just walk to the cage in a firefighter helmet? It seems really easy.
I mean, where was Reebok on the full firefighter regalia? Give me like a Reebok fighter walkout outfit.
Or that,
God damn it.
Dude, instead of like a money gun, he just has a fireman's hose that shoots dollar bills into the crowd, or like a t-shirt cannon shaped like a fireman hose. Like, he just really didn't do anything with what should have been a very clear gimmick.
We missed so much during the Stipe Miocic era. Every event should have been in Cleveland. Every event he should have been able to walk out with a custom Reebok firefighter outfit, and he would have been a massive star. He would have been a superstar. We would have been
like those
eagerly awaiting this John Jones fight.
The WWE promo where they like do the arriving at the scene video to lead into the walkout, where he just rides in on the back of a fire truck, and then suddenly he breaks through the curtain and is like, oh, actually the fire truck is connected to the arena door or whatever. And he's just there. Yeah, you could have done so many better things with him if you just gave him a fun hat and then started from there. But no. So, but I'd like him more if he rocked a fireman's helmet to the John Jones fight. That'd be cool.
And also, my big issue with Stipe too. Not only did he not wear a hat, Google Stipe and mustache. He looked so much better with a mustache. The man rocks a great mustache. So I'm just saying, like I would put him back in the rankings if he grew it back. That's how rankings work.
Again, we left so much off the table. This is just gold left and right. I'm very upset. If I get time travel powers at any point in my life, one of my time travel powers will now be used for this to remedy this. This conversation will never happen.
There may be some news coming, friends.
Yeah, hit that breaking news, Casey. Hit that breaking news.
I mean, we're not there yet. I don't know. I mean, you're my boss, Shaheen. So if you want me to share this
information, no. You're right. Right. Hold off.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I got messages out, but
spoiler alert: is I was right.
I think
no breaking.
No breaking news.
No, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Just know that something is probably coming. And it's
this bad card on Saturday. This bad card on Saturday might have just gotten a lot worse.
Yes.
Not a lot
Depends
worse.
How you look at it.
Worse.
I'm gonna
spiritually a lot worse, maybe.
I'm gonna put this question up there, but it's okay. We'll just see where it
goes. Michael coming in. Thoughts on Dana's appearance on the RNC last night? I'm not gonna lie, I did not see it.
I watched most of it.
I watched it.
Choose my words very carefully.
Yeah.
So please.
Yeah. Look, if you are a Republican and you are on Team Trump, then Dana White was your guy last night. I mean, Dana's speech fired people up. I understand it. Did it get more attention than Hulk Hogan ripping off his shirt and putting on a Trumpomania tank? Probably not. But listen, Dana was there to do a certain thing, and Dana did that thing. Like, he certainly did that thing. So I'll leave it at that. Yeah, he fired people up, got Trump supporters fired up. set the stage for Donald Trump's speech that is still going on. Like Donald Trump's speech is the equivalent to PFL's World Championship card the day after this past Thanksgiving. Like that's how I felt about it. Like it just didn't end ever.
It was the
like,
longest ever, right?
Yeah, it was
over an hour. Again, I didn't watch it, but I saw some stat that like he has the 3 longest RNC speeches.
Yeah.
Here.
I stayed with it for about 30 or so minutes. I was like, oh, it's still going.
It was tough. But Dan did his job. It was short and sweet and fired people up.
Yeah, my kind of takeaways from the Dana thing is outside of politics, whatever. The way he talked about Trump and he kept saying, I don't think this, I know this. It was basically the script when he talks about John Jones. When he talks to reporters, it sounded exactly the same. It was the same tone, the same like this isn't an opinion. Trump is the best person ever. It's an opinion. John Jones is the pound for pound champ. Like this is a fact, you know. And I was like, oh my god, like he was going in promoter talk at the RNC, which was
that's the thing
interesting.
Why can't we get that Dana always? Like, can we get that Dana pumping me up on UFC Vegas 94 or whatever this is? Like, I want to be hearing about why Bill Algeo versus Dooho Choi is the greatest thing ever. Like, that's what I need in my life every week.
Can you imagine if just unprompted, like at the last several pressers, Dana was like, look, I know a lot of you guys think Donald Trump's the GOAT, but John Jones. He just went on his John Jones rant, just with no prompting whatsoever. He's the greatest fighter I've ever seen. It'd be unbelievable. My only comments, I did not watch this, and I'll tell you all the same thing I told one of my group chats yesterday when they were talking about it. Why? Just like I didn't watch the DNC. I'm not going to watch the RNC.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm just tuning all of this
out. There's
out.
just no reason. Like I truly don't understand why people would attend any political rally like that, and certainly wouldn't spend my free time watching politicians speak it unvetted. Like they could say anything. Like I just don't give a shit. So if you liked it, you know, we all get to choose how we live our lives. Good for you. I would just strongly encourage everyone, not just for the RNC, for the DNC, or anything of similar things, do literally anything else with your time. It will be far more substantive for your life.
All right. And we have this last 3 super chats. They're all related, same way. So I'm just gonna fly through them, but they're very important.
Achilles Jr. Jump in the pool, Jed. Maybe do a flip. Also, John Jones likes to beat up on smaller people, all genders included. Jesus.
Ooh.
The flip is yeah, that's bad. But the flip is absolutely.
The flip's not going to happen because I don't want to.
Come on, dude. Yeah, when
I don't know if you can tell because there's a fence near, like, around the pool because this is a pool for a 2-year-old. So, like, if this was an open thing and I could run and flip, sure, but it's still tight. I'm not doing it.
Dude, you don't need to do a running flip. Flop? Just stand there and do a little flip. Oh, a belly flop you won't do. You won't do the belly flop.
I don't want to do a belly flop. That seems miserable.
How much
jackknife
for a belly flop?
Can you do a jackknife?
Oh, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'm physically capable of doing jackknife. I can't touch my toes. You kidding? Do I look like a limber young man?
Is?
Yeah.
Jackknife was something different.
Are you thinking can opener? Like, I mean, maybe we call it different.
Oh, yes.
Jackknife is where you do the toe touch and a jackknife.
Yeah, that's what I thought you do it. Yeah, you kind of.
Can opener. Okay. Everyone can do a can opener.
Yes.
Love a can opener. Can opener is a terrific.
Also, can Gustavo and Lazy Bear joining in the
is it that time?
Jumping in the situation. Is there a diving board there?
No, because it got taken down because there's a small child and they needed to fence this in. So there's a diving board on the side of the building, but that's not happening. Oh, we can
give us a can opener, dude. Is it that give time? Us a can opener.
I think it might be that time.
Okay, let me make sure that you have. This is a clean view.
Oh no, you hit that music, Casey. This is good. Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh,
what
geez.
happened here? Too many
That
things to
was
go.
my laptop making noises. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Totally fine.
This is very dramatic.
It really is. This is good stuff.
Oh.
Oh, peer pressure is terrible.
I was calling for the jackknife, not the freaking slip flop. I did not see that coming. Oh my god, that was incredible.
That was magical. I'm so
Wow.
glad that we did that.